town of Ashwood, deep in the heart of Pennsylvania, was known for its autumn festivals, sprawling forests, and an eerie legend about a girl who lived in mirrors. Most people dismissed it as an old wives' tale until Evelyn moved there. Evelyn was 13 when her family relocated to a large, creaky Victorian house on the outskirts of town. She didn't mind the isolation. In fact, she preferred it. She was a quiet girl, more comfortable with books than people. But from the very first night, something felt off. The house had an old, dusty mirror hanging in the hallway. Unlike the others, it couldn't be removed, bolted tightly to the wall. Every time Evelyn walked past it, she felt a slight chill crawl up her spine. Then, one evening, she noticed something strange. Her reflection was a second too slow. She tested it, raising her hand, tilting her head. The girl in the mirror mimicked her, but always just a moment too late. Her stomach tightened. She turned away quickly, telling herself it was just her imagination. That night, Evelyn woke to the sound of soft tapping. It was coming from the mirror. She sat up in bed, heart pounding. The tapping continued, rhythmic, deliberate. Summoning her courage, she crept to the hallway. The mirror was fogged over as if someone had breathed on it from the inside. Then letters began to appear, written in the condensation. "Let me in." Evelyn stumbled back, her breath hitching. The reflection of her room flickered. For just a split second the girl in the mirror smiled, a slow, twisted grin that did not belong to Evelyn. The next day she told her parents, but they laughed it off. "It's just an old mirror, sweetheart," her father said. "Maybe the glass is warped." But Evelyn knew better. That night she covered the mirror with a bedsheet. It didn't help. At 3:15 a.m. she woke again. This time it wasn't tapping, it was whispering. Muffled, distorted, coming from behind the covered glass. Evelyn. Her name. It was saying her name. Shaking, she reached out and pulled the sheet away. Her reflection stood perfectly still, but her own hands were trembling. Then the reflection did something impossible. It blinked. Slowly. Independently from her. A breathless whisper crawled through the glass. "Trade places with me." Evelyn screamed and ran to her parents' room, but by the time they got up, the mirror was normal again. Furious, her mother threatened to throw it out in the morning. Evelyn barely slept, every shadow in her room feeling like it was watching her. But she never got the chance to get rid of it. The next night, Evelyn's parents woke up to silence. Too much silence. Her bedroom door was open, her bed empty. They found her standing in front of the mirror, her face pale, eyes blank, lips parted slightly like she was listening to something only she could hear. Her mother grabbed her, shook her. "Evelyn! Evelyn, wake up!" And then Evelyn blinked, slowly, independently, and she smiled. A slow, twisted grin that did not belong to her. The next morning, Evelyn seemed different. She didn't flinch at the mirror anymore. She barely spoke. Her voice was softer, hollow, and her eyes, once warm brown, now seemed a shade darker. Weeks passed. Her parents tried to convince themselves she was just growing up, adjusting to the move. But deep down, they knew something had changed. And in the dark hours of the night, when the house was quiet, soft tapping could be heard from behind the glass. Somewhere, deep inside the mirror, a girl with wide, terrified eyes pounded against the glass, screaming. But no one could hear her, and no one ever would.